So we've been to a lot of stands here at IBC, some not so excited to see, some very excited to see. This is one of them that comes on the criteria of excited to see. We're here at the Atomos stand. I've got Jeromy Young, who's the CEO of Atomos here, who's going to talk us through some new products they've got for IBC 2011. Jeromy, what we have?
Okay, so there's three things that we've announced at the show. The first one is that the Samurai is in production, and it will be shipping out within the next week to two, depending on quality testing, etc. So very excited to get that out into the market. We're showing the finished firmware here, so we're just waiting to build the units. We've also announced an Avid DNX upgrade for the Samurai. We got a lot of requests for that from customers that they were really happy with the product, but they're an Avid user. ProRes wasn't natively supported in the Media Composer and Avid workflows and playout servers, etc. Avid have since announced that. So I guess those customers could have used the ProRes, but having native DNX files does open up the broadcasters and the higher-end post-production guys as well for the videographer tools.
And it's much more cost-compatible, isn't it, than ProRes?
It is. However, in what I've found is in certain markets around the world that, for example, the US, it's quite a ProRes-centric market, and it's different. Indie film guys trying to be Stanley Kubrick, 5D has driven that, and they've had to go to AF101s and Sony FS100s and F3s and those kind of cameras. That market is quite ProRes driven. But yeah, the traditional broadcasters and regional TV stations and all those production guys, older production guys, are Avid based. So we open up that market, very happy to do that.
Excellent. And we've got some others here.
Yeah, we do. We've got two products. One's called S to H and one's called H to S. And basically they look exactly the same. However, one is a HDMI to SDI and the other one's SDI to HDMI. But there lots of people doing converters. It's a crowded market, people say. Well, we think we've come up with some very innovative technologies that are on display here in this product. First of all is our continuous power. Right. So the Ninja and the Samurai have a dual battery system where the primary battery depletes, flicks over to the secondary battery, and you change that other battery, and you can continue to record while on the fly swapping your batteries. So continuous power, infinite power, provided you keep changing batteries. Pretty simple concept. Well, we've patented that technology where we've now added that to the converter range and to the converter world. And why is that important? Well, first of all, you're at an event, you're running a cable, you need to connect to a HDMI monitor from an SDI feed. You put one of these in the way. It's very, very small. It's almost the size of a battery. Yep. The bottom of it is the feet of a battery. What happens then is we can connect, this is why they're called Connect. Yep. We can connect these little guys together. They sit on top of each other. These are prototypes, they don't quite fit together exactly right properly. Yep. But they sit on top of each other like that. Then the battery goes in at the top. Battery slides in there. It's a very easy form factor. Not only that, there's an internal battery also, which means you can hot swap between the power and you get continuous power. Yep. Not only that, you can place this onto like a Marshall monitor, for example. Anything with a battery plate. There's adapters for Panasonic, Canon. Lots of people make those. We don't sell them, but other companies do. So you can find those for your particular camera or monitor or LED light. And why is that cool? Okay, you've got a converter on the back of it, which puts it out of the way, and so that's quite a cool idea. However, what it does is give continuous power to that device. Sure. When before it never had it. So you would take the battery off the Marshall monitor, and the Marshall monitor would continue whilst the conversion was also continuing, because the internal battery would power the device on the other side. This battery is the source of power for the internal battery. It always remains full. And we think these are pretty cool. One feature that we do like quite a lot is if you hold the button down for 4 seconds, it becomes a torch. Okay. Which means when you're in an environment that's very dark, you can actually find your cables. And it's a tool that goes in the pocket and should be in every cameraman's bag. So I think I should show you probably the Samurai feature set, which is, to be honest, it's Mark Twain said, "I'm sorry I wrote you a long letter, I didn't have time to write a short one." This is a short letter, and it's taken a long time. Basically, the differences between the Ninja and the Samurai, the audio, Yep. You've got 12 channels of audio, and we can turn those audio channels very easily on and off. I can add my analog channels. I don't have an input on that. I can gain these up and down. And what it gives me is a very intuitive way to monitor my audio. And I think audio is kind of the second cousin in the video world. And we think that this type of interface kind of puts it in the realm of any cameraman can use it. And that simple user interface is the way that we want to go. Let me go back here. I've got 12 hours of recording to ProRes 422. I'm going to change that to HQ. I've got my dual battery system. I can name my unit. Yep. So I can name it Jeromy Samurai, which names the disc. Time code trigger. I can trigger from the Sdi-hdmi, which is what you want to do. You don't want to be playing with the Samurai at the same time as you're playing with your camera. You guys have enough to do with your cameras that it's difficult enough. I try and use a camera, I can't do it. So Sdi-hdmi, this is a trigger for that record. Yep. What we found was, in our testing, if we actually activated record off rolling time code from the camera when we were accepting that time code, when they played back in the camera, it would record again. And you'd be recording things that you'd already recorded. Not cool when you're getting into the editing package. So we give you the trigger first, and then which means it's armed and dangerous and ready to go. So that's the basic interface, but the play outside, so I'm just going to play something back for you here on the big monitor. So I'm looping out, but I'm playing out of this Sdi-hdmi port. So I don't know what we've recorded here. And that's playing back out in full res directly out. This camera wasn't great and it's low light, so it's not the best quality, but the quality of this is pristine. If you really imagine walking around as a director or a producer, nope, sorry, that's not good enough. I'm going to play that back again. I'm going to stop, do frame by frame, so I can see, yep, that's exactly the shot I want. Sorry, Mr. Tom Cruise, that ain't good enough. I'd like you to do it again. Not only that, you can pull the disc out, put it straight into your edit package, and begin your offline or online, depending on whether you've got a lower res on the camera or a higher res on the camera. So we think it's that real middle market that allows everyone to do what they need to.
So this is obviously new to the show. Are these, so as you say, these are available very shortly?
Yeah, in a couple of weeks.
In a couple of weeks. And the converters?
Converters will be available November timeframe.
Excellent. Obviously, come and see them at the show. If you're watching this video, as I said in the others, after the show is finished, you can find out a lot more information about these products and the whole Atomos product range.
On Atomos.com.
As he says, on Atomos.com. Jeromy, thank you very much. That's it from the Atomos stand. Keep track of us and all the other stuff we're looking at broadcastshow.com.